Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the citizens, residents, and the Islamic nation on the occasion of the blessed Eid al-Fitr. A number of Arab and Islamic countries celebrate the first day of the blessed Eid al-Fitr. And more than 400 people are killed and thousands are injured as intense fighting continues in Sudan. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The Diwan of the Royal Court issued the following statement. After the completion of fasting in the holy month of Ramadan and on the happy occasion of blessed Eid al-Fitr for the Hijri year 1444, His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq forwarded his greetings and best wishes to the citizens and residents of the Sultanate of Oman and the Islamic nation, praying to Allah the Almighty to return such occasions on all with welfare and good omen. May Allah keep His Majesty and the people and residents of this dear land safe and well, and keep His Majesty as the source of pride for this beloved country. Al-Khur Mosque is one of the old and magnificent mosques in the Sultanate of Oman, located in the heart of the city of mosque neighboring landmarks of political and historic significance, including Al-Alam Palace, Jalali and Marani forts, and the National Museum. The mosque played a historic and religious role over the past 5 centuries. It was renovated multiple times since 1507 up to 1980s. The mosque was named after an area in Muscat called Al-Khur, which is literally translated as bay or cove. In the past, the mosque was called the Mosque of Martyrs in reference to the Omanis who died in Thawrat of Portuguese. The mosque is also known as the Royal Family Mosque, as senior members of the royal family used to pray there. A number of Arab and Islamic countries today mark the first day of Eid al-Fitr. Hundreds of thousands performed Eid prayers at the Grand Mosque in Mecca al-Mukarramah, and the preacher of the Grand Mosque in Mecca emphasized in the Eid sermon that this occasion is an opportunity to remove the causes of enmity and hatred and bring happiness and joy into the hearts of people. In Al-Madinah, the Prophet's Mosque and its courtyards were filled with worshippers, and Al-Aqsa Mosque witnessed the influx of tens of thousands of worshippers despite the strict Israeli occupation measures. A number of Arab and Islamic countries also witnessed celebrations of the blessed Eid al-Fitr. His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad al-Busaidi, Foreign Minister, discussed during a phone call with His Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, Foreign Minister of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the developments on the Arab and international arenas, especially the ongoing conflict in Sudan. The two ministers stressed the need for calm and arbitration of dialogue between the two sides of the internal conflict and resolving disputes peacefully in order to preserve the supreme interest of this brotherly Arab country. The World Health Organization said today that 413 people had been killed and 3,551 injured in Sudan since intense fighting broke out there 6 days ago. Gunfire ripped through residential neighborhoods of Sudan's capital, Al Khartoum, at the start of Eid al-Fitr after the army deployed on foot for the first time in its almost week-long fight with paramilitary forces. An international push for a temporary truce to allow the civilians to reach safety has so far failed, and foreign nations have been unable to evacuate their citizens. The fighting today undermined efforts by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to win a truce. Beyond the capital, the two sides are fighting in the western region of Darfur, where a partial peace deal was signed in 2020. Guterres, speaking to reporters after meeting virtually with the heads of the African Union, the Arab League, and other organizations yesterday, said trapped civilians should be allowed to seek medical treatment, food, and other supplies. The U.S. and allies will discuss providing more air defense and ammunition for Ukraine at a meeting of defense ministers at Ramstein U.S. Air Base in Germany, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin told reporters. Speaking at the start of the meeting, Austin said the allies were committed to supporting Ukraine for as long as it takes and rejected what he described as Russian President Vladimir Putin's efforts to carve out spheres of influence at gunpoint. Meanwhile, Zelensky had asked for NATO's help to overcome the reluctance of some member states in providing long-range rockets, modern fighter jets, and armored vehicles, putting his request directly to the alliance's chief, Jens Stoltenberg, who yesterday made his first visit to Kiev since Russia's invasion last year.
Reaffirm our shared unity and our resolve.
The Kremlin said today it was monitoring reports of a possible ban on exports by Russia by Western countries, and that new sanctions would damage the global economy. Japan's Kyodo News Agency reported that the group of seven G7 countries are considering a near-total ban on exports to Russia, citing Japanese government sources. Bloomberg News said today that the United States and Ukraine's allies were considering an outright ban on most exports to Russia. That report said officials from G7 nations were discussing the idea before a summit meeting in Japan next month. Russia has been hit by successive waves of Western sanctions since it invaded Ukraine in February 2022. South Korea's unification ministry said today that North Korea must halt its threats against neighbors and pay heed to international concerns about its reckless nuclear and missile programs. Deputy spokesperson Lee Hyung-jong told reporters that North Korea cannot earn what it wants from its nuclear program, so it must not insist on a wrong path. The ministry's comments came after a statement issued by North Korean Foreign Minister earlier today, in which she called the group of seven wealthy democracies tool for ensuring the U.S. hegemony, as she lambasted the group's recent call for the North's denuclearization. The top diplomats from G7 nations who met recently in Japan had jointly condemned the North's recent ballistic missile test and retreated their commitment to the goal of North Korea's complete abandonment of its nuclear weapons. Still to come on News Bulletin. People uphold traditions to revitalize Eid celebrations in the blockaded strip of Gaza. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Civil Aviation Authority issued an alert number 4 on heavy rains due to the effects of the low trough in a number of governorates of the Sultanate of Oman. The authority stated that heavy thunderstorms are likely to occur during the afternoon and evening, and they are concentrated in the governorates of North and South Sharqiya and parts of Muscat and Al-Wusta, with chances of rainfalls extending to the mountainous area of the governorates of Dakhiliya and South al-Batina, which may range from 20 to 50 millimeters, with winds blowing at a speed from 15 to 35 knots. The Civil Aviation Authority advises the public to take precautions during rains, not to cross flowing wadis, avoid low areas, as well as to avoid sailing into the sea during the warning period. Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry branch in North Batina Governorate organized an evening under the theme Tourism Between Industry and Investment. During the event, tourism landmarks and destinations in the governorate were highlighted to discuss optimal methods to take advantage of such sites in line with the future vision and the global advancement in the fields. Entrepreneurs and other stakeholders took part in the discussions organized by the Chamber branch to highlight the challenges facing the industry and the available opportunities. During the discussions, speakers and participants came forward with a number of proposals to improve tourism in the Sultanate of Oman, including reviewing the experiences from countries whose economy is based on tourism industry and focusing on improving adventure tourism. Eid celebrations in the Arab and Islamic world come in many shapes and colors. They are influenced by the local traditions and a particular country. In this report, we highlight Eid customs in the blockaded Gaza Strip. Days before Eid, and despite the worsened living conditions, people from Gaza prepare for Eid by shopping for the necessities, gifts, and sweets to draw smiles on their children and relatives. On the day of Eid, people of Gaza start their day by enjoying salted fish, cakes, and dates-based sweets. The tradition of cake and sweet bakery goes back in history, and the people of Gaza are still upholding such practice as they uphold the promise for a brighter future. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's news bulletin, here are the main points once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq greets the citizens, residents, and the Islamic nation on the occasion of the blessed Eid al-Fitr. A number of Arab and Islamic countries celebrate the first day of the blessed Eid al-Fitr. And more than 400 people are killed and thousands are injured as intense fighting continues in Sudan. Now we would like to inform our viewers that starting from tomorrow, the English News Bulletin will be at 7 p.m. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, Eid Mubarak and good night.